after a couple of knee surgeries, I just started running barefoot on the grass and noticed that my knees didn't hurt. That was like the first big clue that the cleats that I was wearing were harming my body. The foot is the foundation, and when the foot is compromised, it compromises a lot of the joints in your body. I kind of got turned on to it and bought my first printer. The beauty with 3D printing is that it's kind of like there's more, I guess, capacity to be creative because the design space isn't restricted by like the production techniques. Custom is important. Like everyone's feet are unique. There's all these variations to the shape of your feet, and people wear off the shelf footwear that like doesn't work, it's doing damage, and it's because they just have unique feet. We scan your feet, we take that into account, and we design something that is specific to you. You couldn't really pull off a barefoot performance shoe without doing custom.
All right. Welcome to the Quality Values Podcast. Oliver Brossman, two S's, two N's. But yeah, thanks for coming on. You are with Prevolve Footwear. I did a deep search. I'm playing flag football. I'm obsessed with barefoot shoes, and I searched as deep as I could, trying to find the best barefoot shoes out there. I think you got them, at least in my opinion. So, according to my standards, you got the best ones out there. So, just to jump into it, like, how'd you get into this? How'd you end up making what I consider to be the best barefoot cleats out there?
Yeah, we'll have to get you a pair so you can back that up with
Yeah.
some real testing. But yeah, I appreciate that. How did I get into this? Well, I played soccer growing up from like 5 years old, and suffered some knee injuries that led me into looking into barefoot running. And after a couple of knee surgeries, I just started running barefoot on the grass and noticed that my knees didn't hurt. And so that was like the first big clue that the cleats that I was wearing were harming my body. And that was when I was 17, so 17 years ago. And sort of been on the journey since then. I knew about 3D printing pretty young too, like probably a year after, around like 18, I kind of got turned on to it and bought my first printer and started tinkering. And yeah, basically Prevolve has been around previously. There was like an iteration where I worked on it for a few years, and I got kind of burnt out, didn't really know what I was taking on at the time. And so this is the second time around. Um, and I've worked, at other businesses and with some other people in this field, and learned a lot of things as I've tested cleats. And I guess the big thing is I didn't realize how complex and difficult footwear is. So it's taken a lot longer than I thought. But I think that's kind of the case with a lot of things. Like before you're in deep, you don't really know the nuance and complexity of it. So
Yeah. Well, seems like you've got a pretty good system for it. I watched one of your videos. It was on your Instagram. It was like a relatively long video. It was probably 10 minutes where you were going over all the design updates of, I think it was like the last 18 months up to that video.
mhm.
Um, and so that kind of gave me a good feel for like just all the details that go into it and the types of variables that you're weighing. Um, I thought it was pretty cool. So you're
Yeah.
deep into it.
Yeah, we need to make another one of those videos
Yeah.
because it's been a while and there's been a lot of changes. And yeah, it's kind of just like we get to a certain point and I think the shoes are doing well, but there's still things that could be better. And so I don't know. The beauty with 3D printing is that it's kind of like there's more, I guess, capacity to be creative because the design space isn't restricted by like the production techniques. So, like with injection molding, you have a lot of limitations in terms of the cost to make a mold and with some of the geometries. Um, the advantage, though, is that the materials you're using are generally going to be a bit stronger. So, we have like, yeah, more ability to change things, but the base materials we use aren't quite as strong. So we have to get creative. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of changes that I aren't even really live anywhere, but I'm very excited to, make another one of those videos soon. But it's cool that you actually went through that. It's nice to know that people like get some
Yeah.
value out of those videos.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I didn't. I don't even think I fully went into it, but there's a couple reasons I reached out to you. One is because I love the barefoot shoes, love the cleats. I'm a trainer. I do the nervous system training podcast with Quentin Forrest, where a big part of that is foot training. So there's slant boards, balance pipes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the deeper I get into it, the more emphasis I'm placing on my own feet. And then
Nice.
I'm playing flag football and wearing a pair of Nikes, and they're just horrible. Like they don't feel good. So that's all one thing. I just like the shoe side of it is one reason, the movement side of
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, the other reason I want to reach out to you is business. I'm doing fitness devices myself, so I just thought it'd be kind of cool to hear how you figured out your designs. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I went to school for entrepreneurship. There's this one book I read called The Lean Startup. Have you ever heard of
Oh,
that
I've
one?
heard of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe I've read it a
it's
while ago. It's been out for a while, right?
yeah, it's an older one. It was a
Yeah.
recommendation from my advisor, but yeah, it's. I mean, it sounds kind of like what you're doing. The whole idea of the book was like just test, like test. Just place the emphasis on testing. So don't do anything that's gonna slow down the test rate. Just test and improve.
Yep.
Um, and like yeah, so it seems like the 3D printing allows you to do that. Really, just test on the fly, update on the fly. It's more like software than
Yeah.
hardware. It's kind of
The
cool.
closer you can get to software, the better. But it's hard to do with a piece of hardware, like because generally the lifespan should be pretty long, and so you have to like somehow accelerate that lifespan into shorter periods of time if you can. But what kind of like devices are you
They're
thinking
like
about?
they're balance devices, mobility devices. There's one that I'm
I see.
starting with called the Spin Klein.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a slant board variation.
So like kind of accessory tools that you use for your retraining or
Yeah,
improving your.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I made them. Most of them start as rehab, and then some of them I kind of start doing performance applications once I get into it. But
Yeah. So those need to be like, are some of those a bit bigger? Like how
yeah,
big
one
of
one
a
of them one
device?
of them's really big, and one of them
Uh,
I want to make huge. But I'm starting with the small ones because
yeah.
mostly because of cost and space and time and all that.
Yeah.
And
3D printing
complexity.
is a great tool for like those smaller things, but once you start getting bigger, like there are bigger printers, but they're quite expensive, and then also your like time to produce something is a
Yeah.
lot longer. So
I've been using the
yeah.
CNC, which is kind of like the happy medium
Okay.
for wood, where
Yeah.
it's not as quick and flexible as 3D printing, but
Uh huh.
it's yeah, the materials are expensive, so it does like really do want to make sure each iteration like it's. I'd probably spend a little more time thinking through a wood
Right.
device than I would 3D
So
printing. A
you
little.
have a CNC, or do you just
Uh,
go to someone?
there's
Or
a makerspace. I'm in Nashville. There's a
okay.
makerspace here. That's got a couple CNCs, so it's pretty sweet. $75 a month. It's like a gym. You can just go use the tools
Yeah.
whenever you want. Once you get the orientation for the machines, pretty
Nice.
sweet.
Well, it
Uh,
sounds like you're on your way. Then, like, are there certain challenges that you're having a hard time with right now, or?
Not specific challenges. I'm just as I go. Like I only have so much time I can
Uh,
put into this. I just want to make sure I'm being efficient. So
yeah.
that's part of the reason reaching out to these people. Um, just trying to get a feel for like what it's like, what types of problems that you're focused on, and have there's different stages of development. I'm in the early stage, and I feel like there's different types of problems. So
Yeah.
you're someone who's a little further along in your business, so it's you probably encountered some of the problems that I'll be facing or are facing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would just say like make sure that you like using it first. Like, if
Yeah,
it doesn't pass that bar, like if you're not using it like every week because you find it annoying to move somewhere or whatever, like then whoever you give it to is not going to use it. And so I think like that's kind of a bar in terms of like where you're at, with the design and functionality. And then once you get past that, then you can go to your friends.
yeah,
Although friends, I found like it isn't always the best litmus test. Like, you probably want someone, if you have friends who you feel like are pretty close to like your target market, or maybe it's more colleagues that you work with or at the gym or something, like people who already have some of this philosophy, and then that, like, that's going to be the type of person you're going after to sell it to. um, you know and if they like it, then you could go to the next step. But I think like the user feedback, and you've probably heard all this, but like that's a very important step that you can't really,
Yeah.
like, you can't skip that, because if you give people something they don't actually like or use, then like,
Yeah.
what's the point? So
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about your shoes, and
okay.
kind of like the what you've ended up with and where you've started. And I just from watching your videos and this conversation, I know that it's a lot of user feedback along the way. That's
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. I have a shoe here, an older one. This was like a fully 3D printed
yeah,
uh, prototype that was printed, kind of like this vertically. And there's some good things about it, but it's pretty uncomfortable. It's like the upper is super plasticky, and like the flex on these, basically they would just split in the flex zone,
mhm,
because the layer lines of the print are going in the same direction as the flex. So, but it was wearable. These are from 2020. So I guess 5 years later, this is a few months old now, but this is the current prototype. And like one of the big changes was just printing the upper flat and then assembling it. So over time, we've kind of moved closer and closer to like how traditional footwear is made. It's just that we 3D print everything, because we're making it all fully custom. So now this upper is, obviously a lot softer. We've got 3D printed foam. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could I could go into a
yeah.
lot of detail, but I don't know like how much that's valuable to you or your audience. But yeah, like lots of things have changed from that shoe to this shoe, all based on tester feedback, breakages that have occurred. Like, it's just kind of a constant process of improvement. So.
How do you make sure you're getting feedback? Like once you ship out a pair of shoes, how do you make sure that you're hearing back from the people? Do you follow up with them, or do you, um, like before you sell, do you kind of try to develop a relationship to get feedback from certain people, or like how does that all work?
Yeah, I mean, we send out review emails after a few weeks. We have specific testers too. Like, I think it's just a bonus if our customers give us feedback. Well, if there's something wrong, generally we're going to hear about it too. So, like, if there's something that just makes it uncomfortable or something breaks early on, we have a guarantee that will replace the shoe. So I think that guarantee helps ensure that people who have issues reach back out to us. But we also just have testers who get free shoes who have a deal with us that they're going to check in every month or two on the performance and the durability. So yeah, we kind of have different levels of feedback from people based on their role with us. But I will say, like, there is a difference in the quality of feedback you get between people who I think there's two things. There's some people who are just very detail oriented and just like have the mind for it, where they can give you more granular data. Like, they'll they'll have the vocabulary. They maybe they just have a little design or product design background, and so they can give you good feedback. They just have that mindset. And then two, um, the level of the athlete. So, like, generally, as you move up the ladder towards the professional level, they'll just be more aware of their body and more capable of like drilling in on certain things that they've like changed and how it should be changed. And so for me as a soccer player, like I look for specific athletes, um, like in a sport that I'm not, like baseball, like I'm not a baseball player. So like a high level baseball player who has the mindset. We recently had a pitcher, his name's Travis Kuhn, who reached out, and I could just immediately tell, like, oh, you've thought about, like, he's been tweaking his own cleats, trying to improve them. He's been on this journey for years. Came to us like, hey, could I potentially be a tester? And I'm like, oh, perfect. Like, I don't know baseball. I don't, let alone pitching. And so to have someone at that level, with the mindset is like hugely valuable to us. Um, and so I don't know if that's relevant for your products, but like that for us, that's been a key thing. And we don't really have a uh, American football player who's like that. So if anyone listening to this, and maybe it's you, I don't know,
I'll,
but yeah, we need someone like that for the football cleats.
I'll send out some messages. I've had some football players reach out to me from like over the last year or two since I've been doing all this stuff. So yeah,
Okay,
but I'll,
cool.
yeah, cool. So how many different models do you have? How many different sports do you have cleats for?
Yeah, so our top three, it's soccer, football, and baseball. Um, and each one has, I'd say, 5 or 6 different stud patterns. I think football, we have the least amount of stud patterns, but like, we have like an indoor, turf kind of soccer shoe. Um, we have, this is an AG conical variation where there's more studs and they're a little shorter. And these are both for soccer. So for each sport, we have some variations there for the different playing surfaces. And then we do have some other sports that are less common, and we don't sell a lot of the shoes yet. And it's partly because we don't push them as much because we don't have an athlete who's like vetted the shoes to a high degree of I don't know, performance. So like cricket, lacrosse, uh, field hockey, ultimate frisbee, like that. We sell some of those, but it's just like they are more inspired by the soccer cleat just because we've developed that to a level of performance we're happy with, and so we don't push those as much because we don't have like a high level athlete in those categories being like, oh, this is amazing. I still think we're like one of the only real good options for barefoot enthusiast athletes. So like, I think that's where we're getting some people in those categories. Um, but we don't market it as much for those sports.
Yeah.
So
Part of my asking that question is I'm curious what's the overlap like, and I'm really trying to get at like what are the like what's the core principles that like span all the variations of your cleats. Like what are when you're making these cleats for barefoot athletes, what are you really trying to incorporate for that mindset?
yeah, so I think uh, the two big things are the toe box width, and I like to show people. Uh, so I guess this one's better. So this is like a Puma, and this is our cleat, and they're like, uh, this is actually a size 10, and this is like an 8, and yet like the toe box is like, I don't know, half the width or something. So yeah, a wider toe box is gonna be more ergonomic. It's just what your feet are shaped like. They might not be shaped like that anymore because the shoes have deformed them. But if you look at a baby's feet, I mean, you know all this, but yeah, they have the toe splay. Their big toe and their pinky align with the metatarsal joint in a resting position. And that just, like, if you just look at your feet and you see the bone on the top of your foot, it's just kind of like logical. It's like, that's where the toe should go, right? But a lot of people, it's not. The toes are pushed in. Um, and that ends up messing with a lot of your biomechanics because the foot is the foundation, and when the foot is compromised, it compromises a lot of the joints in your body. You have to compensate, and so that's a big one. Now the issue is the narrow toe box does have a purpose behind it, which is to minimize slippage inside the shoe, or for soccer potentially for helping with your touch because it's easier to move the. It's like a smaller point. You have a little more dexterity, and so to compensate for that, we use toe spacers. We have our own toe spacers that we print. I'm using right now just like this single big toe spacer and toe socks.
Interesting. Oh, nice.
So that's the setup I wear playing soccer, and with that wider toe box plus the toe spacer, I'm fixed in there, and I have the proper toe splay. And since I've been wearing our cleats the past few years, where the cleats have actually been at a level of performance that I could play in them, my knee pain has gradually just gone down to where it's now I don't have knee pain. I had tendonitis in my knees even after the surgeries that I had. I had that all through my 20s. I could only play once or twice a week. If I played more, it would just get too bad. So, just one data point, but that's the goal for us, is that we could allow people to play again. I mean, that's really the motivation behind all this. Like, I love playing soccer. I love the sport. I wanted to play professionally, but those surgeries were a huge limitation for me. So yeah, the toes, it's a huge thing. And the other part of the shoe that's really important is the stiffness of the arch. Um, like this shoe again is a lot of cleats on the market will have this like ribbed reinforcement in the center of the shoe, and it makes it you know pretty much impossible to bend. And that's where your foot, the arch of your foot, is a great shock absorber. I mean, it sort of um, interacts and combines with your lower leg tendons, fascia, and muscle, especially in your calf, to create this like spring, right? So when you're landing, you're absorbing and you're getting that rebound. Um, so when the arch can't contract, when the shoe's too stiff, you sort of lose that starting point of that absorption, and that force is going to go somewhere. So for me, it was my knees, but for other people, it could be their lower back, their hips. Um, so our arch is also fairly flexible. It's kind of an area of the shoe where, like, again, there is a reason for it. Like, the structure sort of gives you this added level of traction, because when you have traction in the front, it's cohesive to the back, and vice versa. So like there's some reasons behind it, but ultimately it just weakens the entire structure, and you're not using your body to its full capacity. And I think it's a big reason for a lot of sports injuries is the footwear we're using. So the flexible arch, wide toe box. And then I'd say like the last thing is, we think that custom is important. And it's more important for some people who have more odd feet, who are further off from the average. But the thing is, like, everyone's feet are unique. Usually, left to right, people have differences. There's the width of the forefoot versus the width of the heel. There's the instep height. The toe structure and shape changes a lot. That's actually like one of the biggest variations between people. It's how that shape, is your big toe longer than your second toe or not? Like, how much of a drop off to your pinky toe is there? There's all these variations to the shape of your feet, and people, I think, don't realize that, and so they wear off the shelf footwear that like doesn't work, but they don't even know that it's not working, that it's doing damage, and it's because they just have unique feet. And so that's the third thing for us we think is important, that we scan your feet, we take that into account, and we design something that is specific to you. And even with like the studs on the bottom, the placement of the studs, this is just some generic pattern, but um, once we have a more flexible um, plate, then like the stud patterns kind of need to be in the right place. Like they need to match your bones. If you have a really flexible sole plate, but the studs are in the wrong place, like you're gonna feel that kind of going into the arch or the musculature of your foot. So some of these things kind of like come together in a way that you couldn't really pull off a barefoot performance shoe without doing custom. That
Yeah.
makes sense, and without having the toe spacers. So it's things we've learned over time. It's like, you know, I didn't know that at first. Like if you notice the red shoe is pretty narrow. Like this is more like a normal soccer cleat shape. So I didn't even know about really the toe splay and how that affects everything else until later on. So we're always kind of like, uh, I still don't think I have all the answers.
Yeah.
Like I just am doing this and seeing how my body reacts with the feedback of our customers, and but those three things, I think, the toe box, the arch, and the customization are kind of our like key philosophies or principles across all those different types of sports.
And then I also wanted to ask, like, are there any concessions that you have to make for the cleat specifically? Like, um, since cleats are like unnatural to an extent, we are trying to get an unnatural grip on the ground to put like more lateral force than usual. So we are kind of like I would say most barefoot shoes are trying to be maximally natural. At least that's
Mm-hmm.
that's how I think of it. So with cleats, you have to kind of go a little bit beyond for performance reasons. Um, so are there certain variables that you've kind of had to come back from the barefoot, make some uh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of mentioned it with the soccer cleat, like the performance of dribbling and
Yeah.
having a more narrow toe box. Like, it's kind of, it depends on the athlete. Like some have really gotten used to a narrow little toe that is part of their game. Like they're a dribbler and it's important to them, and so we can tuck that in more. Or they might just be like, I want the widest you can get, and I want to like splay my toes. Like it's kind of, uh, yeah, I would say it's athlete specific. And then the other one too with the arch, like the flexibility of the arch is going to allow your foot to engage and absorb more impact, but also it sort of requires your foot to do more work during cutting. So like if it's really stiff through the midfoot and you cut and you're pushing off the outside of your foot, like the inside of your foot, the arch section, the midfoot has to engage and stabilize, and it's the rigid thing now. And so you have to train for that. You have to build that up if you want the same level of performance. My theory is that in the long run, if you had an athlete from a young age who trained that way, they would actually perform even better. But I don't have a kid that I've been training for 10 years. So,
Yeah.
I really hope one day we see the barefoot athletes who get the good footwear at the beginning, who train, and they'll like set new records and stuff. Like we'll just be like, oh wow, like I mean, to me, it seems logical. Again, like we have all this capacity in our feet, all the muscles and tendons, fascia, the nerve density, same as our hands. Like that's so much ability that we don't really get to manifest and engage in our sports. And so I think if someone trains that early on and has the right footwear, they should be able to do things better than anyone, you know. But so much of sports is kind of this genetic thing too. Like, you know, the Messis and LeBrons, like they kind of just had it. So
Hmm.
you need someone kind of at that level of genetic talent who also like has this philosophy. And then I think like you'd see some sort of freak, thing that we've never seen before. I really hope that could happen. I mean, it'd be sweet to be a part of that, but I don't know. It kind of has to, like, there has to be some alignment there, something.
Yeah. I'm an MMA fan, and MMA became
Okay.
popular in like the 90s and early 2000s. And so I feel
Hmm.
like just now we're starting to get people whose like parents were obsessed with MMA when they were born, you know? And so I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
with the barefoot shoe thing, that's probably 15, 20 years behind where there'll be some enthusiasts now whose kids will be going pro in 20 years. Or maybe less, maybe
Yeah.
10 years, you know, there'll be some
Yeah.
early adopters, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, it'll be exciting to see just the types of training that those
Do
kids are doing
you
and
do
that
you
stuff.
see that like when you see an athlete and they have that story, like you can almost tell like that they were
Yeah,
trained young? Yeah.
yeah. I've always felt that. Like, I'm a baseball player. Baseball's a finesse game. Like,
Hmm.
even still, like even when I'm watching major league players, like the most talented guys in the world, there's sometimes I watch a guy, I'm like, this guy didn't start playing until high school or something. Like he's like he's got the most power, he's got the most coordination, like he's a freak athlete and he's excelling at this level. But you can just see like there's
Yeah.
just some of the finesse is not quite as smooth or just not as like
Hmm.
ingrained as with other people.
Yeah, that technical stuff. There
Yeah,
is, I think there is like this period of time between like 9, 10, 11, where if you're not playing the sport, you don't it's yeah, it's like some sort of deeper
yeah.
muscle memory
It's like a
thing.
second language. Like you can
Yeah.
tell if someone spoke the language when they're a kid or if they learned it in their older years. Even if they're perfectly fluent, even if they can, read philosophy in that language, whatever. There's
Hmm.
it's just it's never quite the same. There's always that like last 1%,
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what that is. There's
Yeah.
some special neurons that are only
Yeah.
around at that
Yeah.
time or something.
Um how does the customization work? How do you scan people's feet? Just logistically, how do you do that?
Yeah, so we work with a scanning partner, a company called Volumental, and it's very easy from our website. Like you don't have to download an app or anything. You just hit scan now. It takes you through a process where you use a piece of printer paper, like a standard piece of printer paper on the floor. You take a couple photos, and we get 3D models from those photos. Um, it's pretty accurate, but even better is if you go into a store that has a volumental scanner. So, like a lot of shoe retailers now will just have these scanners in their store, and it's just like maybe down to zero point 0.5 millimeters to a quarter of a millimeter accuracy for that versus like 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters for the photos. So that's not going to change things too much. But if you want higher resolution, you would go into a store and get the scan and then just send us the link. But then on top of that, we do a fit check. So we'll use that scan and create like a mock up of your shoe, print it on another piece of paper, and get you to do some additional photos. So we found with cleats, it's like within like 3 to 5 millimeters. If you're off, it's just not the right fit. Which the thing is, your feet can change shape throughout the day. Um, Even those photos, like if you're just leaning forward a little bit or like back a little bit, like that can make a few millimeters difference. So we try and get as much data as we can. Basically, we get those secondary photos. We also ask what shoes you're wearing now and like how you like to fit. Um, for soccer too, like it's just so specific about how much space players like around their toes. So, like I'm not gonna lie, it's still a challenge for us. Like it's still something we're trying to iterate on because we still get people who are like, nope, it's too big. There's a little bit of space, or oh no, I'm like super tight in this area. So um, yeah, the feet are just they're weird. They're complex organ. Sometimes they might just like expand a lot when you walk or run, like more than the average person, and so that too will be like, oh, now the fit's wrong. Um, but yeah, we do the best we can with the scans and the photos and the additional information, and hopefully one day AI just can solve that for us or something because
Yeah,
it's one thing that we're still working on.
it's pretty cool. The only I actually haven't heard of this company. Was it Volumetrics?
Volumental.
Volumental. Um,
Hmm.
I haven't heard of that. The only people I've heard of doing that is Belega, I think. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah.
They're connected with
Yeah.
Vivo Barefoot.
Hmm.
I saw them doing something similar. I remember like this was like a year or two ago. I signed up for like the
Oh, you signed up for the early
yeah,
adopter thing or whatever?
and
Yeah. Did
but
you didn't get a pair though?
yeah, it might have not been available in my area. I can't remember what happened, but yeah,
Hmm.
I never ended up with a pair of them. I was
Yeah,
living in
those were kind of more like a one piece print,
yeah,
right?
I
Yeah.
think so. And the Belega was like their proprietary material, or
Hmm.
they had some proprietary material. Um, I always thought it was cool. I didn't really know how it all worked.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Like maybe they just were like our success rate is too low and they just gave up on it. I don't.
Yeah, it seemingly didn't take off. I mean, it might have worked, but not been profitable, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love
Yeah.
Vivo Barefoots. I'm wearing a pair of them now. I have several pairs. Um,
Yeah, I have some behind me too. I have some of their boots. Yeah, I like them. They're a little expensive, but
yeah,
I mean the boots I got from them have lasted quite a while. So yeah, I think they're a pretty good company.
yeah, for sure. They were my gateway shoe
Oh,
to
really?
this world. So
Nice.
I give them the credit, you know.
Yeah, they're
Um,
pretty thin though. Like I generally don't tell people straight up who've been wearing traditional footwear to go straight into Vivos because they're just like
they're
it's
pretty
going into the
aggressive.
deep end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Usually I'm like Lems or Ultra are my like that's like my gateway
yeah.
point.
I think it's beyond just being thin. I don't know. There's something about the rubber is a little different than the other brands with Vivo Barefoot, where it's like, I'd say more flexible at the same thickness than other shoes seem to be. Um,
Yeah, they're very barefoot.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I love them. It was hard to transition into them. The, what do you suggest for people transitioning into your cleats? I know that I'm pretty sure I've read that the highest injury risk with barefoot shoes is just in the transition phase. Like once you're well adjusted, the injury risk is lower, if not the same as the traditional shoes. I know that was like initially when they started coming out, people were like, "Oh, it's an injury risk to put your
Right.
foot under so much stress." It's been debunked at least to the extent where beyond the transition phase. But what do you suggest to people in that transition phase?
Yeah, I mean, we tell people to ease into it, but I think a lot of people
Hmm.
who like our most common customers are those who have very wide feet. So, I think they just get a lot of our customers get our cleats and they just do what they've been doing because the cleats they've been wearing have been so painful that like they don't really have a choice of like, oh, I'll just wear these for like what they recommend, which is 30 minutes like twice a week to start would be like how we'd recommend someone to do it. And then it's all about your soreness level. So if you're not sore after 48 hours in your feet, generally in your feet and lower leg, if you're not super sore after 48 hours, then you could increase the level the next time you go out. You could go to 45 minutes or slightly more intense, and you keep measuring your soreness level and you just keep building up. But yeah, like I said, I think a lot of people just skip that based on what I'm hearing from my customers. But the good thing is that they're generally on grass and turf. So like I think a lot of those injuries that happened to people transitioning to barefoot shoes, it was that they were running like concrete or trails. There's not a lot of just natural cushion in the ground, and so it was more like stress fractures.
Hmm.
Um, so that's not really as big of an issue. I think for us, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess I haven't even really had any feedback from customers saying like I got a foot injury. So I
Yeah,
think either they're already kind of going down that path, or it's just like the shoe actually fitting them is like such a big upgrade in terms of like the pain they feel that it's like they're not really gonna go slow because they feel like it's better already. Um, But I should also mention that, like with the toe spacers and the Met, we also have another thing called Met pads, which I don't think we've talked about. But the Met pads. Oh, the Met pads are a system that also will help your arch to learn to engage, which a lot of people have lost basically all like motor control of the arch, where like it's so weak and like loose that you don't even know, your body doesn't even know how to engage it anymore, especially in the front, um, the transverse arch, right? Because your foot kind of has these three arches. So this arch especially that's going across, like a lot of people don't even know that that's one of your arches, and it turns off so much because of toe spring in shoes where your toes are going up, they're constantly in that position, right? And so that muscle just relaxes, and you never learn how to engage it again. So the Met pad is basically a system to uh, just engage that arch, just get it to fire again. And so that's probably the one thing where people do actually follow our instructions, because we have 5 different levels. So we generally tell people to start at like a 2 or a 3. This is what does that say? That's a 3. So as you get to the thicker Met pad, you'll get more engagement, and your arches will tire out quicker. Um, so generally, we do see people follow our instructions on that, which is kind of similar to what I just said. It's like depending on the soreness of your arch after you play for 24 to 48 hours, like you can go up or down. Even like people will, if you go too quick, your arches will just cramp. Like you'll know that you've gone too hard. Um, but yeah, similar with the toe spacers, we have a size 3, a size 2, and a size 1. So we recommend people start with the 1, and like it's just like it's the same thing. You can like literally cramp up kind of like through your metatarsal, your arch, or even your toe muscles when you spread them out if you've just never done it. Like a friend of mine would just put the spacers on. He's like, my whole foot cramped. I was like, okay, you went too hard, but I guess like you got to go to the level 1. He tried the level 3 first. So like with the toe spacers, it would be more like put them on at home for 10 minutes. You could do stuff not on field, to build up that foot, that toe mobility and strength. Um, and it's humbling because, man, like it takes a while with the feet. Like especially if you've been in conventional footwear for a long time, I would generally tell people like it's 1 to 2 times as long in minimalist footwear and training as you were in the conventional footwear to like get to like completely athletic and healthy. Which is, for a lot of people who've been in shoes since they were young, that's like 10 or 20 years, 30 years they've been in the shoes. So you have to like multiply that. Maybe that's too conservative. I don't know. I would like to talk with more people like yourself who like have experience working with different types of people, different commitment levels. But generally, I think it's like at least 1 to 2 times, because the bones have shifted, the tendons, the ligaments, they're all like very much just deformed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the word I have to use, but they're deformed, and like that stuff, that structural stuff takes a long time to reset. Like the muscles and the nervous system, a little quicker, but um, the bones, man,
Yeah.
the joints,
It's like alignment, like a alignment
yeah,
change overall.
yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah. The trainer in me likes to think that with like movement, strategic movement, you can accelerate that timeline a little bit, but it's slow no matter how you cut it.
Yeah,
Um, the those pads, are other people doing those pads? Sorry, what did you
the
call
Met
them? The
pads,
Met pads.
yeah, Met pads is short for metatarsal pads. Yeah,
Metatarsal.
I didn't create the Met pad.
I've never seen that.
It's something that some footwear, like I want to say like orthopedic or corrective footwear, they'll sometimes actually put in a Met pad. So it's been around for a while,
Yeah.
but like I don't think people really, well, like our level system, no one has that. But you can buy a Met pad that just sticks on like a little sticker onto your insole. You can just buy them on Amazon for like $5. Um, and that's what I generally tell people who aren't willing to like, buy our whole system. I mean, we have an expensive product, so just buy some of those, throw them on any insole, and you will feel your arch work in a way, like unless you've done very intentional arch strengthening exercises, like it's gonna trigger something new.
Yeah.
That's It's pretty intense actually in the beginning.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, I can imagine how that
Yeah,
would
it's
feel. Yeah. Um,
probably something good to try.
Florida. Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely going to. Do you see yourself ever expanding beyond cleats, or are you really just focused on the cleat thing? Like, do you see yourself selling just like the insert and toe spacer system for walking shoes, or making your own everyday shoes or trainers or whatever?
Yeah, I mean we've done some prototypes. The one thing that 3D printing doesn't do very well is it can't quite replicate the durability and abrasion resistance of those natural rubbers. So um, any shoe where you're going to wear it on concrete, or even like a trail shoe, like you start seeing a lot of abrasion, and the the plastics that you can 3D print right now are just not quite that level of durability. So, but like there's innovations happening all the time with 3D printing, and so I'm my eyes are peeled. If we had a material that could perform, close to that level of a natural rubber, then um, it would open up a lot for us. But we're small too. Like I think my probably biggest uh, flaw, regret, or I don't know, like thing that I could probably do better is not spread myself out so much. Like it's hard enough just to make a soccer cleat, but we have all these other sports, and there's like sport specific issues that we run into, and so um, yeah, like I want to make shoes for everyone because I feel like this is the right way to do it, but we're sort of limited in what we can actually execute on. So it's I want to do it. We'll see if it's feasible in the future, I guess.
Yeah, that's something I'm trying to work on too. My attention's split a million trillion ways at all times.
Yeah.
But get to do a lot of cool. It's jack of all trades, master of none, but better than the
Hmm.
master of nothing. Whatever the line is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man. So what are you focused on for now? Then um, is it the design? Is like I guess yeah. What do you see as like the next linchpin that could carry you to the next stage?
Yeah, so we're actually working on our new website. That's been in the works for a while, and hopefully we'll be launching next year. And it has, I think, like two pretty big changes. One is there's going to be a pretty comprehensive quiz that people can take to give us, their more of their athletic history and their injury history. Um, so that's just going to help us improve, the shoe over time. I think just knowing these details about the athlete that relate to their feet, and then on top of that, we are working on a training program. So something that would be tiered based on where we think your foot strength level is at. Um, because yeah, like I think a lot of people get into our shoes and don't really think about the complementary exercises they could be doing that would really take their like athleticism to the next level. So those are the two big changes, and I don't know. I've never really made a training program before, so it's new. I'm trying to make something that's entertaining that they'll actually use, and like it's tricky because for me, like I've used a lot of training programs, but generally I'll just like look at it, run it for like a week or two, take what I like, and then never look at it again.
Hmm.
So I'm like, is that how I should design it, or should I make it more like something they'll really want to come back to all the time? Like, I don't know. I'd be curious as someone who, yeah, it sounds like maybe you're the same as me. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think would be helpful for people who are maybe a little bit knowledgeable, but not like deep into the world of barefoot training.
I think it'd be good to have like a base package of exercises that are good for everyone, especially in that transfer phase. But then also like some specialized, like people with wide feet. Like these are some exercises. People with flat feet, people with high arches, like little bundles where you kind of splitting people into groups that they can understand. You're not like saying uh, like once you start getting into like which toes are longer and which like how your pinky toe is oriented relative to your big toes, stuff like that, like people are gonna that's too abstract, even though it might be relevant to like you as a trainer to like be thinking all like. So I think just splitting into high arch, low arch, endurance athletes, explosive athletes, whatever kind of makes sense for the training program. But
Have you done some training programs? Like, have you looked into? I know like TFC has one.
I don't know
Do you know
TFC.
TFC?
No.
They're the Foot Collective.
Oh yeah, I did. Andy Bryant.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I just did an episode with him like a week or two ago.
nice. Yeah, he has a pair of our golf shoes.
Yeah, he mentioned that. I was in the process of scheduling this interview when I did that episode with him, and so
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
that one's not out yet, but
Does he have a training program?
I he was talking. I don't know if I'm honestly trying to remember. He definitely has something. I should probably know
I mean,
better.
he does like individual. Like he is a podiatrist, right? So he
Yeah,
has people come
yeah. I
in.
don't know if he has something like a link in his bio or not. He definitely we talked about some of the training stuff he does. Um, I really like the sports science labs programs. Yeah, they've
Haven't
got
heard of them.
that's the niche I'm into is the nervous system training. Like along the lineage that goes back to Marv Mrnovich. Marv.
The name sounds familiar,
He
but
he trained like UFC athletes and NFL athletes in the
okay,
2000s.
okay.
Troy Polamalu,
Oh wow.
GSP, RDA. Um, but yeah, so the sports science labs, I think it was started by his son or one of his colleagues. So it's kind of like one of the, but yeah, they do use like balance discs, balance pipes, stuff like that. The guy I do the podcast with, Quentin, he's got his training packages which incorporate a lot of those movements and some other ones. There's also Dr. Chong Shi. He does like fascia stuff. He's the
He's got the Instagram, right?
Yeah, it's Secret of
The
Athleticism.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's got some interesting stuff. He's got a
Yep.
Patreon, but he's got like you grab a marble with your toe and
Right, right.
you thread your leg in different patterns. So he's got like that's like a whole like that. The other stuff I'm mentioning is more along the lines of like reps or time or something. His is more
Uh huh.
focusing on quality. I would say more so than
I see. Interesting.
the volume.
Have you done knees over toes, guy?
Yes, yeah. Honestly, the spin climb I was mentioning earlier,
Yeah.
that was from obsessing over his movements.
Okay.
Love the slant boards.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Did you ever so like for these different schools of thought or whatever you want to call them, like have you bought their programs and then like gone through it, or is it generated? Because I know like they all have their free and then
yeah.
like they're paid, right? So like how engaged have you been with all of these guys?
Right now I'm subscribed to Dr. Chong's Patreon, the Secret
Okay.
of Athleticism. It's
Yeah.
$7 a month, so I was just gonna
Okay.
do it for a few months. Kind of do what you
Yeah.
said, like just, get a feel for
Yeah.
like the whole system, but then just take what I like.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Did that with Sports Science Lab too. I think
Okay.
I bought their foot course, which I was honestly the movements are great. The course I was a little disappointed by. It was like it was just the movements, which like I'd seen most of the movements on YouTube. I was kind of hoping there'd be like more context around the
Structure.
movements
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Okay.
like theory with like why this movement. It was more just like perform this way for this amount of time. So it was good stuff, but I didn't. It wasn't like it was. It was just yeah. It was just click on this video. There's that movement. Next video. Next movement. Then
It's
yeah.
interesting. This is just making me think like that. I would assume there's like there's kind of like two categories, like people kind of like me and you who like have done a lot of these programs, or at least like, you know, gone through them once or twice and picked out the things we like. And then there are the people who are looking for something really like handheld holding, like
Yeah.
I'm going to commit to doing this for 6 months or a year. And I think like I have to make a choice. Like, do I want to just make it kind of more like a library? Like, hey, here's all these amazing exercises we've found over the years, and like do what you will with them. Like, if you have this issue, go here, this issue here. So it could be kind of more like library style, or it could be more like, okay, we're going to walk you through based on what you told us exactly what you should be doing each week, building up over a month, over a year.
Yeah.
Uh, I think we kind of have to decide that. I mean, maybe we just have two versions. I don't know, like
I've
free form versus structured.
Yeah, I've thought about this. The balance device I'm making, like there's no other videos. Like if someone's gonna have videos out there on how to use it, like it's got to be me. Like it doesn't
Mm.
exist. So I've been thinking about it. I think I'm gonna go with the library route and then try to use stuff like my podcasts and maybe like that video you did, that 10-minute video on the evolution of your design. Like try to use some of the longer form content to give people who want that context the ability to go find it and put it together for themselves. But I think the good thing about the library is that, like going back to the beginning of the conversation with the lean, like you can just add to it. You know, you can add to it, you
Yeah,
can reorganize it. Like ultimately, it's basically just like the file drive in your hard
yeah,
drive. You know, you've got like this folder, this subfolder. Like that's ultimately what it is. And so it's, if ever you do need to change the names of the boxes or reorganize them, like you can shift it
yeah.
around.
Easier maintenance on this, on the what you're providing
Yeah.
essentially.
So
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of like that's key. I mean, as guys who are spread out on multiple
yeah,
things at once, that's
yeah.
probably the way to go. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm always looking for ways. Like I've got 3 hours this afternoon. What can I do that'll stand and stay as like a brick in the
Yeah.
overall building that I'm trying to create.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. Um, cool, man. Well, yeah. I mean, our hour's almost up here. Um, but this cool conversation. How can people find you? If people are interested in your shoes, how do you recommend going about diving deeper? And buying, obviously, if they want to do that.
Well, I think right now we post the most on Instagram, though we've been a little bit in dark mode, I guess, as we've been building the new website. So, but yeah, I mean, our website's prevolvefootwear.com. You can go there. You can see all the models that we offer right now, the different colors, the different stud patterns. The scanning is right there, and you can scan without placing an order. So if you're curious just about that, about what your feet look like, you can just go on, scan your feet. Um, there's email, phone on there if you want to reach out to us. We're pretty good at getting back to people. So even a message on Instagram, whatever. Um, and yeah, hopefully we'll be posting some new content on YouTube that's going to give a bit more of an update on where we're at, and in conjunction with the new website, we'll be posting some stuff. So yeah, we'll be reaching out to our community here soon. And you can just subscribe to our email or YouTube or Instagram, and you'll see something in the next couple months.
Yeah, awesome. I love the Instagram page. Lots of good stuff. I was trying to explain to people this interview. I showed them what I was talking about, and as soon as they see the cleats, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's dope." So definitely recommend
Nice.
going to check it out. Everything, all the links you mentioned will be in the description everywhere this podcast episode is live. And yeah, thanks everyone who's been watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Check out Oliver's stuff. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Jake.